On the world news tonight from BGI TV Current, first the headlines. Oba of Benin meets President Tinubu in Aso Rock. Northern group writes Tinubu seeks amnesty for Boko Haram, bandit with scholarship and generous pensions. Ebonyi government increases workers' salaries by 10,000 naira. Sit-at-home order released Nnamdi Kanu to end sponsored siege in southeast IPOB. Come and surrender, there will be no negotiation, army tells terrorists. Court orders Emefiele's release, nullifies his detention. And moving on to the next story, court discharges ex-Imo governor Okorocha blast EFCC. And on sport, Super Falcons tackles Queensland Lions in friendly. I am Morire Rebila Lawa. The news shortly. President Bola Tinubu is meeting with His Royal Majesty Omoba Enedo Uku Apolopolo Ewari II, Oba of Benin, in the State House in Abuja. Information report that the agenda of the meeting has yet to be made public. Oba's delegation includes the Egiabe of Eperi, the Ima of Somorika, the Onoje of Ewato, and the Ojuromi of Uromi, as well as top Benin chiefs. This meeting comes after Tinubu declared a state of emergency on food security in Nigeria on Thursday. The directive was made known by presidential spokesman Dele Alake. Alake said the president was aware of the rising cost of food and its effects on the citizens. He said the declaration of state of emergency was in line with the Tinubu administration's position to ensuring that the most vulnerable are supported. The directive also includes all matters pertaining to food and water availability and affordability as essential livelihood items within the purview of the National Security Council. Moving on to the next story. The Northern Development Forum, NDF, has issued a 2-week ultimatum to the administration of the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to grant amnesty to Boko Haram and bandits in the north to foster national inclusivity. The group, which premised its demands on what it called on prosperous life, now being led by ex-agitators in the Niger Delta, said granting its request would help foster a lasting peace across the vast swathes of the northern region. In a press statement by its spokesperson, Sharif Abubakar, the NDF said the only way the North will have a respite from incessant attack from Boko Haram and bandits is for the Tinubu government to grant amnesty to the rebels, just like President Umar Musa Yar'Adua did in 2009 for Niger Delta militants. The group further stated that for 15 years and counting, the Niger Delta militants have enjoyed unprecedented patronage from the Nigerian government, leaving those in the north in abject poverty and deprivation. It listed a demand for Boko Haram and bandits to include declaration of amnesty, provision of scholarship, capacity building, and establishment of cooperative scheme. Several Niger Delta agitators were offered scholarships, management skills, and federally backed pensions. The statement reads, "We are writing you today as concerned citizens and advocate for justice and unity in our great nation. We strongly urge you to consider this proposal and take decisive action to promote peace, inclusivity, and national cohesion." The Niger Delta Amnesty Program, initiated in 2009, played a pivotal role in mitigating the conflict in the region and fostering lasting peace. The program offered a pathway for former militants to reintegrate into society, providing them with rehabilitation, education, and employment opportunities. Moving on to the next story. The Ebonyi government has approved 10,000 naira as addition to its workers' salaries as part of effort to cushion the effect of fuel subsidy removal. Chika Dibia Okpa, Commissioner for Information and Orientation, announced the approval to reporters after the Executive Council meeting on Friday in Abakaliki. The issue of workers' salaries was raised and deliberated by ESCO. The sum of 10,000 naira will be added to every worker's salary in the state to cushion the effect of fuel subsidy removal, he said. On subversion to the Ebonyi State University, The commissioner noted that the Governor Francis Nwefuru has mandated the Secretary to the State Government, Grace Omozorike, to look into the finances of the institution. The council also approved the employment of 1,454 into the state civil service to fill in the vacancies created in the service over the years, Mr. Okwa added. The commissioner noted that the council also deliberated on water challenges in the state, explaining that a marching order had been given to the Commissioner for Water Resources to get water running in Abakaliki. We hope that the problem of water will come to an end in the state, he said. Moving on to the next story. The indigenous people of Biafra IPOB has said the release of its leader, Nnamdi Kanu, would end sponsored criminality in the southeast. IPOB made a call in reaction to the warning by the Chief of Army Staff, Taoreed Lagbaja, over the sit-at-home order by Simeon Ekpa. Lagbaja had warned that the Nigerian Army would no longer condone the sit-at-home order in the southeast. The group said it's not responsible for Monday's or failed 7-day and purported 2-week sit-at-home orders and enforcement. A statement by IPOB spokesman Emma Powerful reads, IPOB Worldwide condemns a statement credited to the Nigerian Army, linking IPOB to the incessant and destructive sit-at-home orders and enforcement in the southeast. The Army Chief, General Lagbaja Taoreed, will not reclaim ignorance of all the previous press releases written by IPOB, led by Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, disassociating ourselves from Simon Ekpa and his criminal sit-at-home enforcers. The reckless and abusive sit-at-home strategy is from the autopilot group led by Simon Ekpa. We have consistently made it known that Simon Ekpa and his autopilot group are not IPOB members and do not represent Mazi Nnamdi Kanu in their violent enforcement sit-at-home orders. Moving on to the next story. The Nigerian Army has asked all terrorists and bandits, especially those in the northwestern region, to surrender unconditionally, stressing that there will be no negotiating with those who threaten the nation's peace. According to the Army, the terrorists are continuing to be given a tough time, and their only option is to drop their arms and surrender to the troops. The General Officer commanding 8th Division, Nigerian Army Sokoto, Major General Godwin Motkot, disclosed this to newsmen in Gusau, Zamfara State Capital, after inaugurating RSM House at the 1 Brigade Cantonment. Nobody negotiated with them before they entered the bush. Now that the fire is hitting them, they want to negotiate. Well, I won't call it negotiation. They should just come out and surrender. Negotiation is a trap. They have done it in the past, and it did not yield any result. So why still repeating the same mistakes again? General Motkut asserted. The commander noted that the army won't relent in its continuous effort to clear terrorists from the region. He reiterated that the military will not negotiate with the bandits, but will rather go after them in their hideout to eliminate the advice, and if the bandits want to survive from the hands of the troops, they should come out from their hideout to surrender. According to him, the troops have been going to trouble places like Zurmi, Shinkafi, Safi, Dentadao, and other troubled areas in Zamfara State in spite of the rainy season, dislodging the terrorists from their hideouts.
Communities and highways in Zamfara and other states in the northwest region are experiencing the resurgence of banditry and kidnapping. The latest was the ambush on policemen at a checkpoint in Bungudu Local Council of Zamfara State, which led to the death of 4 police officers last Tuesday. But the General Officer commanded 8th Division Nigerian Army says the Army will not succumb to any pressure to reconcile with the armed bandits and other enemies of peace. The Army General stated this while inaugurating RSM House at the Army Cantonment in Gusau.
They've been dealt with. That's why they are calling for negotiation. And that's why they said they want to come out and talk with us. But we are saying talking is not the solution. If they want to surrender, they should come out outrightly and surrender. Nobody negotiated with them before going to the bush. When they wanted to pick up arms against the government, we didn't negotiate with them before they did that. And now that they feel the fire is on them and they want to negotiate, well, I won't call it negotiation. They should just come out and surrender. That's all. Negotiation, I feel, is a booby trap. They've done this in the past and it didn't yield any result. So why still repeating the same mistake again? When they are ready, come out, surrender. We welcome them.
General Mutku says troops will continue to pursue the terrorists into their hideouts, despite the start of rainy season, which makes it more difficult for troops to access their camps.
Before now, there were plenty places we've not entered. But as it is now, despite the rain, we are going to places that the bandits ab initio believe we don't have the means of entering those places. There are places surrounding the whole of this Zamfara. All the bushes, nooks and crannies, we've been going there and we've been giving them bloody nose.
He says the army is proud of the 1 Brigade Nigerian Army Gusau, especially in neutralizing bandits and the rescue of hostages.
A day after a Federal Capital Territory High Court in Abuja ordered the release of suspended Central Bank of Nigeria Governor Godwin Emefiele, another court declared his arrest and detention by the Department of State Services (DSS) null and void. Emefiele sought the court's intervention against the incorporated trustees of the Forum for Accountability and Good Leadership, the Attorney General of the Federation, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC), the Inspector General of Police, the State Security Service, and the Central Bank of Nigeria. The judge ruled that Emefiele's arrest and detention were in violation of a previous ruling by Justice M.A. Hassan. Emefiele's counsel, Peter Abang, requested the court to invalidate his client's arrest and detention, arguing it was in defiance of Justice M.A. Hassan's ruling delivered on December 29, 2022. Delivering the judgment, Justice Bello Kau agreed that the arrest and detention violated Justice Hassan's standing order. The court also nullified any arrest warrants obtained by the DSS and ordered Emefiele's release from custody. Following the ruling, Emefiele's counsel hailed the courage of Nigerian judges and ordered the DSS to comply with the court's order promptly. He noted that Emefiele's health had suffered during his 1-month detention and insisted he should be allowed to tend to it. From that story, we'll go to the next one. A Federal Capital Territory FCT High Court in Abuja has discharged Senator Rochas Okorocha of all allegations of corruption filed against him when he was Imo governor between 2011 and 2019 by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC. The presiding judge, Justice Yusuf Alilu, said the action of the anti-graft agency was a gross abuse of the judicial process. While delivering judgment in the suit filed by the EFCC against the former governor, Justice Alilu said the EFCC should be seen to be a respecter of law that created it. Moving on to the next.
Governor of Imo State, Rochas Okorocha, the EFCC had instituted the criminal charge of alleged fraud against the former governor, whom they alleged he committed during his tenure. And this will be the third decision that will be delivered by a court of competent jurisdiction over charges of fraud filed by the EFCC against Senator Okorocha. The Federal High Court Abuja had in February discharged the senator of 2.9 billion naira fraud charges preferred against him by the EFCC. Justice Eyang Eko in the ruling struck out the charges for contravening Section 105 of Section 3 of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act of the year 2015, which gives the Attorney General of the Federation the power to recall a case. The court agreed with Senator Okorocha that the earlier judgment of a court of coordinate jurisdiction sitting in Port Harcourt between him and the EFCC, restraining the agency from further proceeding on the alleged offense subsists.
Nigeria is a nation and must do everything to protect its integrity. I believe that nothing should discourage the EFCC from doing their work. They should do their work. They're doing quite well, but they should try to make sure everything is within the ambit of the law. That's just what we're saying. But I just thank God Almighty that finally, the third time actually, that same court is saying the same thing over and over and over again. So this is not about who has won or who has lost. It's about this nation. Fighting against corruption is something that must be done, and we must continue to do that. Support the to do that, but let it be within the ambit.
The River State Police Command arrested one Michael Charles alias Tango Ikweme for allegedly selling his 3 children. This follows the command's busting of a child trafficking ring operating in the state. Parading the suspect within the Old GRA police station, head office of the CP monitoring unit who were responsible for the breakthrough, the police public relations officer of the command, Grace Iringe Koko, said they arrested a number of suspects involved in the trading of minors in the state. Charles, who is one of these suspect paraded and the father of the trafficked children, admitted to selling them, blaming his action on poverty and an inability to fend for the children.
How it happened?
I only teach children.
Include a medical practitioner and a former counselor. Speaking on behalf of the mother of the traded kids, who is deaf and dumb, the mother, Janet Igwe from Umodiogo, a Mobu local government area of the state, said her son-in-law has been selling the children born by her daughter, while telling her the children died after birth.
How it happened?
I only teach children. I know teach one. I know teach children. My own children. I think I can give a baby nose, make him take care of that baby or that picking. I carry the baby nose. I carry the picking keep on this baby nose, make him take care of the picking. I know give money to kill. They were born for me in day now.
So why you not give a making loss for you? You can't carry gift for another nursing money.
You should do money they talk. When if you talk to anybody anything.
Before you marry,
and they make him follow go. They make him follow go.
You and your wife follow. So that was circumstance that made you to carry your children to another.
Why you do like that, okay? Why?
I no get money, property. Shish I no get. If you see me, you will see I no get money.
She give you money?
No give me money. You give me seven months to go to come back. So I go find 7,000 to come back.
We don't understand that part. You say what happened?
I carry the picking give for new baby nurse to take care of that picking for 7 months. 7 years. After the 7 years, I go take and collect the money, take the picking back, give her the money back.
How much?
Uchechi.
How much they pay you for Uchechi?
How much they increase Uchechi? 700 now. 700,000. As I go, I'm people collect the money from my hand.
Okay. How much do they pay you for for miracle?
300,000. 350. Yeah, 350.
Okay. The day-old baby. How much do they pay for the day-old baby?
500.
Whom do you give the day-old baby to? Who take you to where you sell the child?
Who give me the?
Who take you to where you sell the child?
No, this man, doctor.
Doctor. What is his name?
And I learn for doctor, but I never say the main name.
Okay. What of Uchechi?
Uchechi na doctor too.
Same doctor. Okay. What of the miracle?
Miracle, another woman. That Christian woman.
So wait, how many of your children will you
When
sell?
you don't sell?
Three.
How much?
I don't forget how high him be.
Wait, why you sell your children?
I don't get money to train them.
On the foreign story, the COVID-19 pandemic, the cost of living crisis, and war in Ukraine have pushed 165 million people into poverty since 2020. The United Nations said Thursday, calling for a pause in debt repayment for developing countries. Because of these shocks, 75 million people will have fallen into extreme poverty, defined as living on less than $2.15 a day between 2020 and the end of 2023. And 90 million more will fall below the poverty line of $3.65 a day, according to a study published by the United Nations Development Programme. The poorest suffer the most, and their incomes in 2023 are projected to remain below pre-pandemic levels, the report said. Countries that could invest in safety nets over the last 3 years have prevented a significant number of people falling into poverty, UNDP chief Achim Steiner said in a statement. In highly indebted countries, there is a correlation between high levels of debt insufficient social spending, and an alarming increase in poverty rate. The report called for a debt poverty pause in economically struggling countries that redirect debt repayment towards financing social expenditures and countering the effects of macroeconomic shocks. Going on to the last story on sports. And to the last story on sports. The Super Falcons of Nigeria will take on Australian champions Queensland Lions FC in a friendly on Saturday. It will be the team's first tune-up game since they set up a camp in Brisbane, Australia, ahead of the 2023 FIFA Women's World Cup. The encounter is slated for the Gold Coast Sports and Leisure Centre. The friendly will give head coach Randy Wardrum the opportunity to perfect his tactics ahead of the World Cup. The 2023 Women's World Cup, which will be hosted by Australia and New Zealand, will start next week, Thursday. The Super Falcons will face Olympic champions Canada, Australia, and Republic of Ireland in Group B. The 9-time African champions will take on Canada in their opening group game in Melbourne on July 21st. The West Africans have played in every edition of the competition. With that sports story, we've come to the end of today's world news from BGI TV Current. Before we go, some major headlines. Oba of Benin meets President Tinubu in Aso Rock. Northern Group writes Tinubu seeks amnesty for Boko Haram, bandit with scholarship, generous pensions. Subsidy removal, Ebonyi government increases workers' salary by 10,000 naira. Sit-at-home order, release Nnamdi Kanu to end sponsored siege in Southeast, IPOB. On sports, Super Falcons tackles Queensland Lions in friendly tomorrow. Thank you for watching. For more updates of our broadcast on YouTube, our handle is BGI TV Current. Kindly subscribe and click on the notification bell. Select option all to access all of our broadcasts. On Facebook, Bagade Imo with Alawi Adebayo. Please like and follow the page. For advert placement of your goods and services, coverage of events and functions, please dial the phone number streaming on your screen for advert placement only. Thank you for watching. I am Morire Rebila Lawal. Good evening.